At first, our cities may seem like lifeless concrete jungles. Of course, this is not the case, because there are plenty of animals that can be found in the world's cities. Although this may seem like a bad idea because of the obvious danger, for animals, living in cities comes with many benefits. For animals such as deer, cities are perfect places to hide from predators, and on average, cities are warmer than the wilderness. Cities also attract intelligent creatures such as raccoons and foxes, because they are more than happy to take advantage of the food that we leave behind. In other cases, animals live in cities because it mimics their natural habitat, which is why you can find peregrine falcons in some cities. Not only do skyscrapers mimic cliffs, but cities are also full of many prey animals. Of course, there are many more obvious examples of animals that live in cities, but there are also some surprising and obscure city dwellers. In this video, I will be focusing on these animals, as I will be going through 3 surprising urban animals. And for our first species, we will be heading to South Africa, as we have the African penguin. Now, for many people, seeing a penguin in Africa may seem out of place. Most people picture penguins in cold environments, so seeing a penguin on a hot beach can be quite extraordinary. These birds are confined to southern African waters, and is the only penguin that can be found in Africa. Of course, like many other species of penguin, the African penguin is flightless, and instead uses its wings to propel itself through the water, and helps it to feed on a multitude of food items. Their diet is mostly made up of fish and squid, but they will often feed on anything that they can catch. The African penguin is a relatively small penguin, and grow to a maximum height of around 70 centimeters. This size makes them very nimble, but also makes them an easy target for predators. In some areas, this penguin is also known as the jackass penguin, and this is because it can make a loud donkey-like noise. This can be annoying for some residents, but it is very handy when it comes to locating them. These penguins come on land to lay their eggs, and do so in makeshift burrows. These burrows can be open to the elements, and also open to some predators. It's thought that gulls and ibises eat up to 40% of their eggs, and this means that most penguins are lucky to make it to adulthood. These penguins were once numerous along South African shores, but today they are listed as endangered. There are of course many reasons behind this, but competition with commercial fishing is one of them. They're also affected by large weather events and oil spills, and because of this they are a protected species. But not only are these penguins found on hot sunny beaches, but they can also be found in some coastal towns, and even on the edge of coastal cities. One of the areas in which these penguins have invaded is known as Simon's Town, and if you're lucky on some nights, you can find them waddling along pavements, or even hiding under cars and nesting in gardens. This may seem like very strange behaviour, but it's all the result of urbanization. Before these towns and cities were around, if the penguins went on land, they would soon be picked off by land predators. But because of this increased urbanization, there are fewer predators along the coast, and if you avoid the traffic, cities are relatively safe. Because these birds are endangered, it's good news that they have new safe places to nest, but I'm sure the residents won't be happy with their loud calls, and also the fact that they dig up their gardens. So although it may seem strange at first, it really is smart for these penguins to venture into the city. But for our next species, we will be heading to Southeast Asia, as we have the Asian water monitor. This species is one of the most common monitor lizards in Asia, and it is also one of the largest lizards in the world. It's in the same family as the Komodo dragon, and has a very similar body shape to this lizard. As you can guess by their name, these reptiles love the water, and are in fact semi-aquatic reptiles. They are excellent swimmers, and will happily wade through muddy bogs. In the water is where they find most of their food, and they're not picky and will feed on almost anything. They'll even happily take dead, rotting animals, and to help them find these food items, they have a keen sense of smell. Male Asian water monitors can be very territorial and aggressive, and when encountering another male, they will often take up a threatening posture and then begin fighting viciously. In some rare cases, these can be fights to the death, but usually one of the males backs down first. Although this lizard is most at home in large wetlands, their great sense of smell sometimes leads them to cities. Because we waste so much food and leave it lying around, this can often interest many creatures. This is definitely the case with the Asian water monitor, because they've entered many cities in Southeast Asia and then completely taken over. In some cases, they will even travel through the sewers until they find a reasonable meal. Famously, one of these creatures caused havoc in a 7-Eleven, but in most cases they're wary of humans and tend to leave us alone. One city that's often invaded by these lizards is Bangkok. There are plenty of rivers and canals for them to move around, and there is one very famous park where these lizards have practically taken over. This park has a few large lakes in it, and these provide the perfect habitat for these lizards to thrive. In 2016, it was estimated that there were over 400 living in the park, and although this may seem scary as they're so large, their presence did come with some benefits. They would feed on a lot of trash and dead animals, which meant they did play a part in keeping the park clean. They'll also feed on other pests such as rats, so having them around wasn't all bad. But of course, as well as this, there were some negatives, because they'd cause accidents by getting in the way of cyclists, and in some cases they would go after pets. This is why there has been many efforts to remove these lizards, but luckily for some of them, not all of them are being moved. And although it may seem crazy at first, cities can provide the perfect habitat for large lizards. But our next animals have been found in quite a few cities around the world, and this may be the most obscure inclusion on this list, because we have the whales. Now there are around 90 species of whales, dolphins and porpoises alive today, and these creatures differ greatly in size and also in behaviour. There are the mean aggressive whales, and the slow moving passive whales. For most of us, these mammals are large mysterious creatures that we're very unlikely to have an encounter with. If you are lucky enough to see them in the wild, it can be quite a sight, but in some cases you don't need to venture into the wild at all. In recent years, there have been many cases of whales swimming up rivers. Most whales are able to understand that they've gone the wrong way, and then exit the river before it's too late. Unfortunately, this isn't the case for all whales, because some travel many miles inland. Whales are adapted to live in salt water, and cannot live in freshwater environments for long periods of time. As well as this, rivers are simply too small for most whale species, and they often find themselves beached, or completely scratched up. It's unknown exactly why whales swim up rivers, but one of the obvious reasons is that they get lost. Large storms and weather events can cause them to become lost, and they carry on swimming the wrong way until it's too late. They can also lose their way as a result of sickness or injury, and some species are prone to mass beachings. This was unfortunately the case only a few days ago, where over 450 whales stranded themselves on New Zealand beaches. It really is disheartening to see these pictures, but at least some were able to make it back to the ocean. In other cases, whales go up rivers intentionally, and this is to follow food. Orcas have been known to travel miles up rivers, and this is usually because they're following salmon. Of course, they can't do this for long periods of time, but they have been sighted near some coastal towns and cities. Famously, quite a few whales have swam up the River Thames in London, and one humpback whale swam 18 miles up a crocodile-infested river in Australia. When large whales swim up rivers like the Thames, this means that there are whales in cities for the briefest of moments, and although it's quite sad to see, these animals are very unlikely city dwellers. If you know of any other creatures that could have made it on this list, then let me know down in the comments below. And also, if you have any video suggestions, also let me know down in the comments below. But thank you for watching, I hope you enjoyed. If you liked it, please leave a like and subscribe if you want to see more videos like these. But until next time, goodbye.